How to Win Friends and Influence People Summary. Intro. Have you ever felt ignored, avoided, or forgotten by others? Do you struggle to manage your employees effectively and make them feel valued? Or do you have a fantastic idea that no one seems willing to back up? Every person wants their peers' approval, but how can we get it if those around us are constantly downplaying our efforts? Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People is an excellent guide for people who want to eliminate awkwardness in social situations and become more charismatic. This video will provide an overview of this book's key concepts and how these techniques apply to your life. Please stick around until the end to take action on what you've learned. I hope this summary inspires you to go out and grab a copy of the book for yourself. Let's not waste time and jump right into it. This book is divided into parts. Dale Carnegie has given some principles in each piece. With the help of the directions given in this book, you will learn this art. Knowing these principles, you can increase your self-confidence and learn how to influence people positively, whether you are a student, a business person, or want to become famous among your friends. Furthermore, by practicing these principles, you can quickly get any work done by the people around you. Part 1. Fundamental Techniques in Handling People. Principle 1. Don't criticize, condemn, or complain. It means do not criticize and complain in bitter words. The first principle says that before criticizing or condemning any person, we should try to understand that person's behavior and the reason behind it. Then, it will be more beneficial than knocking. Because by doing this, we also awaken the feeling of being tolerant. This principle was adopted by the great Abraham Lincoln himself, once he shared his experience and said that he used to criticize his opponents, in general, a lot. But once an opponent, upset by his criticism, threatened to kill him with a sword, after which Abraham Lincoln got scared, and he stopped criticizing anyone directly. Not only this, Lincoln says that he started giving the same advice to others, that charging now can be harmful. That's why we should always behave in the right way. When dealing with people, let us remember that we are not dealing with creatures of logic. We are dealing with creatures of emotion, creatures bristling with prejudices and motivated by pride and vanity. Principle 2. Give honest and sincere appreciation. This is one way in which we can make any person do anything. This principle teaches how we can be successful in doing it if we wholeheartedly appreciate a person with sincerity. It leaves an impression on the heart and mind of that person. You will become essential to that person, and he will never deny your request or friendship. Let me tell you a story. A construction site manager faced a big problem when the workers were in front of him. They used to wear a helmet, but as soon as he left, they took them off, which made the manager very angry, and he used to scold them. But one day, the manager adopted a different method. He very lovingly asked the laborers whether they had good helmets or if their fittings were terrible. If not, then they should wear these helmets because it is made for their safety only, and he did not want any worker to get hurt. On hearing this, the workers started wearing helmets, and this method of that manager came in handy. Principle 3. Arouse in the other person an eager want. When you have an idea, never let people think it is just yours, and make them feel that this idea is theirs. So by doing this, people consider it their plan and will prove to be even more helpful. We can use this psychological thinking very quickly in our professional life. Writer Dale Carnegie shares his experience and says that once, at the Brooklyn Institute of Art and Science, he wanted to invite a successful writer to lecture the students. Still, the problem was that all the writers were very busy, so he and 150 students wrote a letter and sent it to the writers. Now, after reading this letter, all these active writers in their countries came to Brooklyn to give a speech. The question is, what was written in that letter? Well, Dale took advantage of this same technique. Dale and all 150 students signed that letter. If you accept our invitation, we request that a great writer like you would be a proud moment for our institute and the students. Anyone's heart can melt after reading such a letter. These were some tricks to control the people around us. And now we hope that you will also meet the people by strengthening your social skills. In the words of Henry Ford, if there is any one secret to success, it lies in the ability to get the other person's point of view and see things from that person's angle and your own. Part 2. 6 ways to make people like you. It is a fact that people believe and agree with the person they like. In the book's second part, Dale Carnegie wrote 6 ways with the help of which people will start picking you. Principle 1. Become genuinely interested in other people. To learn this principle, you don't have to look any further than man's best friend, dogs. Dogs give you consistent love and approval. They offer you their full attention and unrestrained affection. As a result, dogs are loved above all creatures on this planet, and they never have a shortage of friends. Humans, however, tend to focus on themselves. For example, the New York Telephone Company conducted a study of conversations and found that the most commonly used word in the English language is the personal pronoun I. Also, think about this when you look at a group photo you're in. Do you not instinctively search for your picture first? This is natural, and everyone does it. However, it is also a strong indication of the inward focus of human beings we are all interested in. Learn to show appreciation for other people, and they will love you. But how do we do this? First, speak to people every chance you get. A few kind words are all it takes to let people know that you see them and are interested in them. Next, learn about people's birthdays and remember to send birthday cards and happy birthday messages. This is easy to let people know that you care about them. Finally, greet people with animation and enthusiasm. Dogs do this by bouncing and wagging their tails or by simply smiling. Principle 2. Smile. A smile is the easiest way to make a great first impression. You can spend as much money as you want on accessories and clothing to bolster your appearance. However, your most precious attribute, your smile, is as accessible and infinite as the air you breathe. In addition to being accessible and great, smiling is contagious. Research has shown that we are biologically programmed to mimic those around us. The neurological term for this is called sensory motor simulation. Thus, people will smile back at you when you smile, and your environment will brighten with positivity. Moreover, this effect is not limited to in-person communication. On the contrary, smiling while you're talking on the phone will make you sound more enthusiastic. Thus, the listener will be infected with your happiness. So what if you're not happy or don't feel like smiling? Interestingly, research shows that smiling can satisfy you because it causes your brain to release feel-good neurotransmitters. Thus, smiling makes you feel happy. In this way, if you force yourself to smile, not only will those around you become happier, but you will become more joyful too. Principle 3. Remember that a person's name is to that person the sweetest and most important sound in any language. The average person is more interested in their name than in all the other words on earth. Carnegie says that, remember that name and call it easily, and you have paid a subtle and very effective compliment. But forget it or misspell it, and you have placed yourself at a sharp disadvantage. Carnegie further tells about Napoleon III, Emperor of France and nephew of the great Napoleon, who boasted that he could remember the name of every person he met, despite all his royal duties. His technique? Simple. If he didn't hear the word distinctly, he said, "So sorry, I didn't get the name." Then, if it were an unusual name, he would say, "How is it spelled?" During the conversation, he took the trouble to repeat the name several times and tried to associate it in his mind with the person's features, expression, and general appearance. Napoleon went to even further pains if the person was important. As soon as His Royal Highness was alone, he wrote the name down on a piece of paper, looked at it, concentrated on it, fixed it securely in his mind, and then tore up the form. This way, he gained an eye impression of the name and an ear impression. Principle 4. Be a good listener. Please encourage others to talk about themselves. Most people are most interested in themselves and their problems than you and your issues. They are desperate for a curious listener. So why not give them what they want and ask questions other people will enjoy answering, and encourage others to talk about themselves, their accomplishments, and their interests instead of talking about themselves. If you grant others this kindness by being their captivated listener, which they so desperately desire, they will love you for it. From a customer perspective, they will eventually become intensely frustrated if they are not listened to and answered. However, the most violent or angry customer can be calmed by a patient and sympathetic listener's attention. Once this irate fault finder becomes a venomous tirade, and they feel they have been afforded an adequate opportunity to express their objections, they will often become more composed, more reasonable, and even loyal customers. In this way, listening can break down walls and mend relationships. Principle 5. Talk in terms of the other person's interests. The way to a person's heart is to talk about things that the person treasures the most. The key to getting what you want is to speak first about what the other person wants. For example, let's say you'd like to work for someone passionate about travel. You might start the conversation by asking the person about his favorite places to visit, where he's enjoyed his favorite meals, and what his most memorable experiences are. Then once the person is warmed up, you might segue into your intended conversation about acquiring a job. At this point, the person has probably already decided that he likes you, so he will probably be much more receptive and likely to hire you. Principle 6. Make the other person feel important, and do it sincerely. There is one all-important law of human conduct. Always make the other person feel important. If we obey that law, we shall rarely get into trouble. That law, if followed, will bring us countless friends and constant happiness. But the very instant we break this law, we will get into endless trouble. Give to others what we would have others give to us. How? When? Where? All the time, everywhere. Little phrases such as, "I'm sorry to trouble you. Would you be so kind as to? Won't you please? Would you mind? Thank you." Most people you meet feel superior to you in some way. A sure way into their hearts is to let them realize in some subtle way that you recognize their importance sincerely. "Talk to people about themselves," said Disraeli, one of the shrewdest men who ever ruled the British Empire. Talk to people about themselves, and they will listen for hours. Outro. Go out and grab a copy of this book if you haven't already. The link to this book is given in the description of this video. You'll gain a deeper understanding from all the stories and examples presented and learn many things that are not covered in our summary. So, that was it for today's video. If you enjoyed this summary and learned something new, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more educational and informative videos. See you at the next one. Till then, bye.